everyone, this is Prerna this side. We are on a masterclass session with Arockia with us. This is all about data storytelling in an era where data is growing at an exponential space. Why do we think data storytelling is important, or is it not really, right? We have Arockia with us. Arockia, over to you.
Thank you, Prerna, and thank you, Jain leaders, for giving this opportunity. And I'm Arockia. So today I'll be talking a little bit about data storytelling and answer some of the questions which we have related to it. Just to give you a short intro on me, actually I'm a chemical engineer from my UG, and then I did my master's in data science. Currently, I'm helping organizations rethink the way their data-driven decisions are being made, or basically the decision-making process. And basically, I try to maybe relate myself more close to an AI storyteller.
Great. That's lovely of you, Arockia. A little bit about me also. I'm part of the Talent 500 AIML team, leading the AIML practice there. We are helping businesses manage and grow their digital and globally present workforce. So let's jump onto the topic of data storytelling. I'm sure our viewers, this is a new evolving topic, and everybody would be curious to know what exactly is data storytelling. So if you can throw some light there.
Yeah, sure. Maybe something traditionally what people or we try to think when it comes to data storytelling is it's maybe a belief as well that it's data visualization. So contrary to the belief that data storytelling is just simply a data visualization. So I would say it's not just a visual. It's basically I would say a narrative, a compelling narrative, which specifically is anchored and by compelling data. So that is how data storytelling is all about. It basically bridges the gap between your data analysis process and how the decision-making process is made as well. So basically, it bridges data analysis with your decision makers. And I would say it's a rare and also a special power which everyone should possess once working in the field of data.
True, very true. So it's little different from data analysis and business analysis. That's what we are trying to justify here. So what type of skills do you think are important for a good data storyteller?
Okay. Maybe before the skills, I'll just maybe list down some of what is a good story all about in general for a data story. So a good story basically has a flow, a context, a structure, a meaning, especially the purpose, and then it has to be also specific. Specific in the sense, what is the focal area, what is the pain point you're trying to solve over there, and at the same time, it has to be concise as well. So these are some of, I would say, characteristics of an good story. So I can call this data storytelling as something, I can compare this to a salt in a cuisine. So let's say you have a savory dish. So there are n number of savory dishes, and without salt, the food doesn't taste good. So data storytelling is something like salt, because within the field of data, you have multiple domains and sectors. So storytelling is something I can relate to a salt, where there is different cuisines. Without salt, it doesn't bring out the flavor and the taste out of it. Coming back to the question on the skills, especially there are a mix of skills which is quite essential for data storytelling. I'll start with some of the technical skills first. So programming skills is something which is key, because this helps you maybe get the data and analyze the data. So most common programming languages traditionally in most organizations, you can see SQL, and SQL, especially you need not go in details of the SQLs, but the data manipulation language, the SQL DML part will be more than sufficient, because you're going to just wrangle the data around. And current trend and maybe the popularity of Python, maybe it makes us, it's going to be an essential part as well to learn Python, because it's more user-friendly programming language. So this is on the programming part. And then a little bit of math skills is something which is going to be critical as well, especially the descriptive stats or the statistics and inferential statistics, because these helps us understand what kind of calculations or methodologies you can use basically to bring the meaning out of the data. And with, let's say, the popularity of machine learning coming into picture, Simple, maybe I would say having an understanding of supervised and unsupervised machine learning, especially regression analysis or classification, or maybe a clustering or a segmentation algorithm. So knowledge of these will be essential so that you can make meaning out of data as an analyst first. Then I'll move towards a little bit of skills, which is more towards a soft skill, I would say, or where we try to humanize the data, how we can make it appealing to the users. So empathy is something which I will say is a primary and key skill which everyone should possess, because empathy helps you to tell a story by understanding your audience, because here audience is the key, and the story also has to cater the needs of an audience. So that is something essential. And apart from that, some other soft skills would be the understanding the business context, and you have to be a sales representative here because you will have to sell or persuade your users or audience in telling. So sales persuasion and a narrative writing is something which is going to be an essential skill. These are part of non-technical skills, I would say, which are equally important as you will learn maybe technical skills as well.
Yeah, very well articulated, Arockia. Like, yeah, it's not only about the technical skills, but also about the soft skills and putting the user, putting our client at the front. That's really important for a good data storytelling. So basically, are we saying that it kind of a jack of all, like should possess some part of analysis, some part of data science, some part of soft skills, and a combination of all these would be the essence of a good data storytelling?
Yeah, perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and as we at Talent 500, we are also experiencing a large amount of data. There's a lot of data coming in. We are growing exponentially. So a lot of data gets unutilized, unconsumed because of the volume of data. I think the same problems are there with every company, every organization, especially with growing startups as well. But do you think the data storytelling can pitch in these places, or any other use cases or challenges where pure data storytelling would be a rescue and it would be the best possible solution for the company to grow?
Yeah, I can maybe I'll definitely I would say this is a very interesting question. I from my experience I can pick some of the pain points or the areas or challenges which I have seen down the line while consulting with different organizations. So first thing, normally, or it's a common challenge across every industry. It's not just to one domain. Explainability of your data. So explainability of what is there in a report, because every company generates thousands and thousands of data reports. So explainability is a common challenge. Data, it's just numbers if there is no story associated with it. So that is where the explainability comes into picture. So the data storytelling helps you explain what is there in the data. Basically, it brings out the insights and help you actionize it, because without an action there is nothing which is going to change. So that's where data storytelling will especially help in the explainability part. So this is one of the challenge I have come across. And purpose, the second one, I have few couple more as well. I'll just go one by one. So next one is the purpose. Sometimes we necessarily do not find why actually we do a certain task as a company. So we might have a vision, but we necessarily don't know as an employee or maybe as a worker within the company or an organization. We try to understand, oh, what's the purpose? What should I do? So this is where data storytelling will help you actually bring out the story. Okay, what's the work I do and how it is related to the larger cause, basically the vision of an organization. So here it helps you connect with the purpose. And sometimes cultural challenges will be a common problem as well, and we also people also fear AI and ML is going to take away jobs. So this is a common perception I have seen across everyone. I wouldn't say that is the truth, because the reason is in most cases what we try to promote is AI or maybe data, anything related to data, people related to programming skills. And most of them get or have the fear when it comes to programming and math. So actually, that is not the truth. AI, ML, or maybe data storytelling is not just only about programming and math. It is just beyond that. So that is a fear which we can eliminate through telling the right story. So what it is all about, what are the different roles available within this field. So that's some of the stories which are challenges, and data storytelling can help effectively solve this. Considering
Yeah.
the current situation, yeah. So
Great point to pull out. Like, yeah, the fear of people having that AIML would take away job. That's not true. And that's one thing which I think everybody, and even me as a data scientist, we feel that AIML to pursue how to position and model, how to actually say that, okay, this is a help, not really a thing which will take away your job, but it's a help, it's an assistance where manually sorting or manually going through all the data is tedious. That's where AIML and data science can help. But yeah, very well. Go on. Yeah.
The last one, just maybe considering the current, I would say, economic crisis going on for the last 2 to 3 years, and even now it's continuing, I would say, further. So possibly a recession is something most analysts predict, maybe down the line in most countries, not necessarily only in a specific country, but across the globe. So considering that, I would say at this point, finding or telling the right story to the executive management for each organization will help them drive and take the right decision. For example, for me, cash flow is something which is essential for every single organization. So basically, the inflow and outflow of cash. So what type of story I can bring out from the data so that the executives can make the right decision. So if you look at the cash flow, the first thing which will comes in most product-based companies is handling the inventory. So inventory management is essential. So if I stock up my inventory, I will end up as an uh, I'll dumping ground for inventory, whereas there won't be any customers to buy my product because eventually everyone will try to cut the cost. So managing price, managing inventory, these things should definitely come out from your cash flow statements. So these are some things relevant to maybe I check the current scenario.
True. Yeah, that actually answers a lot of points. Like with data storytelling, we can actually make organization go towards the path of a data-driven organization. Right? There are always challenges between collaboration between the data science team and data analytics team. And now data storytelling coming in picture. How do you think this collaboration would work?
Okay. So I'll give is mostly we'll try to be a data-driven organizations in most cases. So I'll just give an overview here and then how it is related to a data scientist as well as maybe an AI or ML engineer. So how they can also collaborate within this space. So for me, uh, organizations have to be purpose driven and data is something which has to power their decision making. So one of my favorite author is Simon Sinek. I used to read his books a lot. So as for him, so the destination, so where we want to achieve is what is our purpose. So let's imagine we are traveling in a vehicle or a car. So the fuel or the petrol or the gasoline which we use is what is data. So that is going to actually help you move, and the decision making process or the decision maker is actually the driver. So the driver should make the right decision to reach the destination. So it can be point A or point B, whatever it is. So that is where purpose plays a vital role, and it goes even with the data scientists as well as the AML engineers as well. So where we see the purpose first, so what is that we want to achieve at the end. So that's going to be very essential. So some of the collaboration areas, personally for me working in a data science project some years back, actually I was facing a challenge how to bring in emotion within your AI solutions. So going through a lot of things at this, maybe I would say fortunately, I that was the time Graminer actually introduced a certain visuals, especially for Microsoft Power BI platform. So they call it as the comic gem. So which is nothing but these are simple visuals which help you tell story through a comic. So that is something at that point I was looking for something which can help bring emotion out of data, and this specific component was helpful. So that is where I had a discussion with my data science team. So why don't we tell or maybe convert the simple sales forecast as a conversation as a comic, because as a kids or a child we like to read comics. So why don't we bring in those kind of conversations in our report rather than a traditional profit loss statement which looks maybe a simple table and boring. So these are some areas as a data science team can look in, and also it helps you reduce projects going to shelf. So when I say shelf, you might have built a wonderful machine learning model. So if the story is not conveyed, so how the return on investment is going to be for the organization, it just goes to shelf. We never use it. Though the project is excellent, the results are good, it necessarily doesn't get utilized. So that is somewhere I feel this can data storytelling can help. Also the explainability part, the last one, so which is most times people feel machine learning models are black box models. Personally, I don't feel the same way. It's about how we explain the content to an end user. As an analyst, I know what the data tells me when I see a certain predictions, but from an non-technical background, let's say an executive sees it, necessarily they don't, maybe they don't understand that. So that is where the data science team can look in for. Nowadays a lot of Python libraries are available for making the explanation given, especially I would say Line, Sharp. So these are some of the libraries I would say. Personally, I have utilized this to tell the stories in a very simple way. Why this model made a certain prediction. So what was the reason behind it? What was the rationale behind it? I think these are some ways it will definitely help collaboration between the different data teams.
True, true. Yeah. So those would be essential if you actually have to deploy your models. You really don't want to be it only in the research phases and keep the AML team only as a good to have kind of team, and just being the center of the organization that yes, we have an AML team, but they're actually putting models into production and they're actually helping out the business grow and the clients as well. So valid point. And what do you think are the best practices which data storytellers should follow? Like you can start anywhere, you can end anywhere, but what is the ideal way of starting?
Okay. Um, Maybe I would say for best practices, I would see three key points. In putting it in simple, maybe one worders, it will be design, I would say build and deliver. So I'll go one by one what is design means especially. So in this, designing is especially done for the audience. So as I said earlier as well, audience is key. So the design has to be especially for the audience. So an audience can vary. I'll give you an example. There might be an executive, or you might prepare a report, let's say a data report for an executive, and there may be a report which you might prepare for the larger audience, maybe shareholders as well. So both reports cannot be same content wise as well as look wise, because it has to vary because the audience here changes. So for an executive, in my personal experience, I've seen we should never allow them to wait. They like to go to conclusions first. So first
Exactly.
bringing the summary and then go into the details. But from an engineering background, as an engineer, I like to go from the root causes. Okay, what caused this? Go step by step and finally come to a conclusion. So for an executive, it's going to be exactly the opposite. So that's why I said design it for the audience. So who is the audience? So then actually design the content. So that's going to be the first point. The second one is building. So here building is building with the right visuals, because traditionally, if you've seen most data reports, bar charts, pie charts is going to be very common. So bar
Mhm.
charts and pie charts are not going to be helpful in every kind of scenario. So you will have to see what type of visuals will be essential to bring out the right meaning out of the data. So that is something here essential as well, because let's say we are having a sales growth for an organization. A sales growth figure without a target line doesn't give you a meaning. So if whether I am winning or losing is something I never knew if I don't have a target. So that is why building with right visuals comes as a key, as a second point. The last thing is delivering it. So delivering, and the delivery part is something, always keep it simple. Don't try to overcomplicate with thousands of visuals. Maybe you can design it some such way as different levels. For example, the first level, which tells you how is the overall situation or the key performance indicators, whether things are going good or bad, and then go for a root cause analysis. So that's where always trying to try to keeping it simple will make it easy. So just to summarize, design, build, and deliver, and always try to keep it simple.
Yeah, design, build, and deliver with keeping it simple. That's amazing. Yeah, this from design perspective, it gives me like I've worked on Tableau and I've made dashboards myself. And you're right, keeping the person at the center, we actually end up building multiple dashboard, multiple visualizations based on the clients or the user requirements. But one thing is like if as you said, that executive might jump to conclusions sometimes, right? And they want to showcase a particular thing from the data. If you have a glass, you can show it half empty or half full. That's that's the way you can show it with data as well. So who decides and who should ideally decides that what particular part of the story do you want to tell and just hide the other part of the story?
Oh, okay. This is an interesting question as well, because this is going to be tricky, and it's going to be unique for every single situation. But in general, or in a nutshell, you can put it this way: as audience is again the key here as well. So basically, the group of audience to whom the data is going to be presented decides what type of visuals or what type of story goes behind maybe in report or maybe anything which you are presenting. So that is something which is key. So audience decide what kind of content goes here. That is key, and it can be different and designed especially for the user persona. So just to put it, let's say we'll take four different groups within an organization. Let's say the top level management, which is the CEO and the corporate level. So they look for especially specific set of KPIs to drive certain decisions, or make, or maybe I would say take certain decisions. The next part comes the financial part, or the CFO's office. So they have certain set of criteria, which, because they are worried about money, whether the company is going good or bad. Cash flow is their, I would say, pain point. So they'll have to make sure that goes in. So there has to be a slightly different set of, I would say, story which goes for an controlling or maybe a finance team. Then comes the middle level managers. So they need to know how the company or the employees feel and how the growth is going on overall. Or do we see any kind of threat with respect to market situations? So that is like a third user persona. And the last one is the frontline workers. So they need to know how my work, so what I do is related to the larger cause, which is the purpose of the organization, and tying it together. So depending on the user persona, the data story also varies. And basically the audience is what they decide what content goes in behind. So India being an fan, or everyone in India likes cricket. So it's more of an emotion in cricket. So I'll take the example here. So as soon as you see a cricket match, you see a scoreboard, so which tells which team is winning or losing. So that is a simple, compelling dashboard which tells whether I am winning or losing. So in a nutshell, no one needs to come and explain what is going on. By looking at the dashboard, I can actually get to know whether a team A is winning or team B is winning. So perfect. Now, when each player enters the field, you will have a specific dashboard which will be displayed on the screen, telling what is the batting average, what is the bowling average, what is the historical record for this player. Not everyone understands this. Maybe a cricket fan will understand, or an analyst will understand, but not everyone will understand these kind of visuals. So these are your audience, are the user persona here. So the first one, which any common man can understand, which is easy to understand. Next, it is for only a specific group of people, which is who knows cricket. So which is the detailed dashboard with some more additional stats. So that is, I would say, second. So that is why I said, or maybe I keep on stressing, audience is key.
Yeah. So it's like know your audience, know your customer well, know the business well before actually diving into the field of data storytelling. Last but not the least, but yeah, like what would be your tips to the aspiring data scientists or data storytellers? As we see that data scientists are currently doing the data storytelling also, and they are being the advocates of the AIML models they are building. Same here for data analysts as well. They are doing the data storytelling. So do you feel that this becomes a new field altogether, or the current people only have to step up and take a charge?
Okay, okay. It's going to be tricky because, as I said, this is something of an special skill. It doesn't mean that no one can learn. So these are skills, something like a leadership skill. No one gets, or no one is born with those. You can eventually actually learn those skills. But personally, I felt while working with different AIML or maybe data science projects, this is something I feel down the line everyone should understand what this is. Not just maybe going to the technicalities alone is sufficient. You will have to also tell what the data is, and it also has to change from person to person. So whom you are going to tell the story, or what is that you are going to present. So the story also has to vary. You cannot sell the same story to everyone. So it has to change according to the audience. So that is why I feel this is something which is not going to be sticking to only a specific group. So everyone should eventually know how these things are, how data storytelling is essential in their own domain. be data engineering or maybe data science or maybe AML engineering. So whatever it is, it has to be as a component. So just going back to, I would say, tips, as I said, always try to keep it simple. That is something which can be consistent. I would say that is the only one thing which we have to keep in mind. Keeping it simple, simple is always better. Don't complicate too much. So that is, I would say, the one thing definitely everyone should be keeping in mind.
Sure, that was amazing, like very interesting to know, like, and I'm sure the people who are watching this would be inspired by the way you've told us how data storytelling is important, and it is not that difficult, right? It's not rocket science that we can't learn it. It is possible. It's just you have to have that interest in the area. You have to have that passion in the area. Great. Any that's it from my side, Arockia. Any closing comments from you?
Yeah, I would say again, going back to the same point, maybe to reiterate, just into pointers is audience is key and keeping it simple will make things work better. So that none of the efforts, especially I know the data team puts in a lot of effort, but to the outside world, it just looks like, I see a simple number outside in an or excellent graph, but it's not just the number. There is a lot of efforts goes in. So that's where the data storytelling part is going to help you bring out those efforts and show what is that hard work which is put behind that. So that's something last. And I would say again, thank you, Prerna, for these excellent questions, and thank you, our change leaders, for providing this opportunity.
Thank you, Arockia, for taking out time. Thank you, Change Leaders, for this initiative. A great initiative to bring all the data science teams and people associated with this field together. This is an interesting field, and it would continue to be so as we grow the data. Wishing you also all the best for your career, and thank you.